A tough loss for Graham, but lessons learned. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Graham Steer Football Show, brought to you by the Graham Athletic Booster right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. As the Steers fall to the Springtown Porcupines 35-21, that really saw that first quarter be what decided the game as Springtown jumped out quickly 21-0. And give Springtown credit. They started a sophomore quarterback, his first varsity start after they had rotated quarterbacks in week one in that surprising upset loss to Joshua. And they responded back with a good win. And Kane Hall, the sophomore, he's going to be special, folks. He's going to be really, really good. Springtown's got some good years ahead of them over the next couple years with him and the talent around him. But yeah, it came down to that first quarter. Graham got behind the 8 ball and just could not ever quite get going forward consistently enough. There was a couple times that they had a chance to make it a closer game and just couldn't come up with the first downs. And it's a learning experience, and Coach will talk about that. And we'll talk about, Graham has a lot of players coming back, but there's still some growing pains at key positions. And Graham's going to work through that. And that's why you play games like this. They could have played a lesser opponent and won 40-0, and you'd never know what you need before you hit what is going to be a really tough district with Brock, with Mineral Wells. Hey, look at Eagle Mountain View. I know they're 0-2, but they have played pretty solid in those 2 losses, especially last week to Grandview, where at times they led Grandview, but the Zebras were able to catch up to them and beat them in the end. As always, we're going to be talking to the head coach of the Graham Steers, Coach Clay McChristian. We'll be able to figure out what does Graham do after a game like this. How do you adjust the coaching? What do you talk about to the kids? And I always record the coaches' stuff before I do these intros and outros. We call them wraparounds. And so it's interesting talking to him about that. It was kind of cool to get the inner workings of, okay, so this is what we do when we lose, and this is how we the next day on Saturday, and how we do it on Sunday, and this is how we adjust, and this is what we tell the kids and stuff. So it's a really good interview with Coach about all that, and you'll be able to hear it now when we come back right here on the Graham Football Show, brought to you by the Graham Athletic Boosters on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. Terry Bennett back here on the Graham Football Show, now joined by the head coach of the Steers, Coach Clay McChristian. And, Coach, last week it was congratulations on your first win of your career. This week, your first loss of your career, a tough game. What were your thoughts on the Springtown game?
Exactly what I thought it was going to be, exactly what our coaches thought it was going to be. We talked to our kids all week long about, it's always a tough matchup with us in Springtown, and we knew they were going to be gunning for us after their week 1 loss, and it was exactly what we thought. It was a good, hard-nosed game that, we're going to get better because of it, which is what you need in these non-district games.
Yeah, they jump out in that first quarter with 3 touchdowns. You were behind the 8 ball, but from that point on, you basically played them to a standstill.
We did. We had a slow start. They had a pass on us right off the bat, got us on edge, but we had a chance, and we got them to a 3rd and long, had a chance to hold to a field goal, and had a couple of mental breakdowns, and then it was a slow start. You can't have a slow start against them. Last year we kind of jumped on them early, and they flipped the script on us, and that's the thing with Springtown. It's like that back and forth every year, and so it's always that cat and mouse game. What do they have planned? What we have planned? So yeah, they got the best of us at the beginning, but I thought our kids settled in and really had a chance to lay down a couple of times, and they didn't do it. We had a little rain delay and came back, and we got a stop and got a score and cut it to 14, and we were right in the ball game. We just didn't make enough plays on both sides of the ball to get it done.
Well, you brought up a good point. We were talking before we started recording. Everybody looks and says, "Oh man, y'all have a lot coming back," and y'all do. But you also have some key positions that you're trying to figure out, new guys and such.
We do. That's always when you start the season. Now, everybody talks about what you have coming back. They don't talk about what you lost, and it doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or 7 people. Those people that you're trying to get ready, especially if they're young. We've got some young kids. We've got several sophomores in some spots that are talented players, but they're still sophomores, and they're still learning their spots. They're still making mistakes. We go through those growing pains, and you have to go with those kids. That's why you have non-district to get those kids ready to go, and they're going to be ready here. They'll be better this week than they were last week, and that's why you keep going with them and want to see progress.
You know, you bring that up about sophomores, and just about every coach that I've ever talked to, when we start talking about, young kids at certain positions, sophomores are the one that from the first week they play till the last week they play in the regular season of that first year is usually the biggest difference in just knowing what they're doing and the confidence in themselves.
It is, and that's what you don't want. You don't want to break their confidence.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to make mistakes, and they're going to get chewed on. But as long as they get back in the film room and they see the why behind things, and why did you do this wrong, and how can you do that better, you just can't break a sophomore's confidence, because they're on the varsity for a reason. They're talented, and so when you put them up there, they're sophomores. I tell them all the time, and I like sophomores. I love seniors. And so, those same sophomores are not going to make those mistakes, here in 2 weeks. And then by the time they get to be seniors, man, they're the ones that are telling those young sophomores then, hey, I've been there before. I've made those same mistakes.
And I know it's tough. You're losing to a team that's a rival and a team in Springtown that, like you say, they're always physical and they're always a really good football team. But you're going to learn more as a coach, and the players are going to learn more in a game like this, even in a loss, than if you were playing some cupcake that you beat 65-0.
And that's why we have the schedule we have. And you nailed it right there. Is games like that, Friday night, everybody's upset. Nobody wants to lose, and you're upset about it, and you should be. Saturday, you're still not in a good mood. We call that our good mood, and we call that our truth day. There's a lot of truth in those film sessions, and people walk out going, man, that wasn't good. But Sunday, man, that's our answers day. Let's come back and let's have the answers on how we get better. And man, the sun's shining brighter on Sundays, and you want to dampen the spirits, but man, you come back on Sunday and you say, let's go, man. This is time to revamp and regroup, and that's why we coach. It's why you play. Is you can't dwell on losses.
All right, you go back on the road this week. You're taking on a Whitesboro team that lost to a very physical Bells team last week in a one-possession game. What are your thoughts on the Borough when you look at them on film?
The thing is that they're young. They start a lot of sophomores and juniors across the board. And so I think some of their kids are kind of making some of those young mistakes also. They got a head coach's son, Coach Fagan, he's got his son playing quarterback, and, man, he's going to make plays with his arm. They're going to spread the ball around, throw it around. Got a real good couple of wide receivers out there. So, they're going to spread you sideline to sideline and really just try and swing the ball around and then try and gash up the middle when you get spread out. Defensively, they're going to play physical up the middle. They're going to play some quarters coverage back behind it. But man, they're a well-coached team also. Again, you want to keep stacking those teams that you play, being well-coached teams. That just makes you better. But yeah, we're expecting another good one this week.
They're a program that Coach Fagan over the last 5 years has really transformed them into being. For the longest time, they're talented, but to now they are a consistent 3A Division I region threat.
They are, and that's where why coaching matters. You can have all the talent out there. Sometimes you have more talent, sometimes you have less talent, but coaching matters. And that's why when you get in there and you get on the board and you give those kids and you get them better. No matter what kids you have, you want to make sure that you take them to a better place than when you found them.
When you're talking about
and he's done that.
Yeah, and you're talking about like your Sunday. I like how you phrase that. When you're dealing with your kids after their first loss of the season, and you talk about losing that confidence or not losing that confidence, is that one of those things as a coaching staff? Do you pull back on your criticisms, or do you use them as teachable moments? Like, this is why you made the mistake because you didn't trust what we were saying through the week.
It's both. Our Saturdays are pretty hardcore around here. That's why we call it the truth room. And we speak a lot of truth. We don't hold back, but our kids understand that they're going to be coached. And we tell them, really, really good athletes want to be coached. If you walk in there and you're like, oh, I'm perfect and I didn't do anything wrong, man, then you're in the wrong place. We want kids who want to be coached because that's why we're here. We want to coach. And so when you look at those on those days, there's going to be criticism, but you got to love on the kids too. And you got to sit there and let them know that, you're making mistakes, but we're keeping you in there because we know you can do better.
Is it I mean, I know it's different, but how does it feel doing all that now as the head coach and not the defensive coordinator?
It's good because I get to touch both sides of the ball. I've always done that on the defensive side, and I've just kind of taken my philosophy from the defensive room and taken it program wide now. And what I told the kids after the game was that I was extremely happy with our fight, man. There was a couple of times that we could have laid down, and I say our kids were engaged from the first to the last. They were cheering both sides of the ball on. Those kids never thought they were out of it, and then that's grandkids for us. And so I was happy about that, and I was happy. I told them after the game, I said, guys, we're not going to dwell on the negative right now. So tomorrow's the truth room. We're going to dwell on things. I said, let's talk about some of the positives. And I thought the way our kids handled that loss and had a couple of chances to turn it down, and we didn't do it. So, and focus on the positive at that point. There's plenty of time for negative.
Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO GuardPlus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouth guard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
As always, we want to thank Coach McChristian for joining us here on the Graham Steer Football Show. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments for him, for me, for the show, for Sideline to Sideline, which, by the way, we cover 3A, 4A, and 2A football each and every week. On Sideline to Sideline. You can check that out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@L4 Media Company, or you can go to our audio only, S2SGrantandTerry.com. But if you have any questions or thoughts, email them to me, Terry@S2SSport.com. Also, we're looking for more Graham sponsors, so if you're interested in that, you can email me there as well. But 1-1, I think Graham will get right with ball this week against Whitesboro. And then you've got that Decatur matchup looming in 2 weeks. And then, heck, dude, we've got district play in 3 weeks. I mean, we're already 30% through the season as far as games played in the regular season. That's the fun thing about football, and also the frustrating thing is you wait all year for it, and then when it comes around, it goes by so quick. But, yeah, I think Graham will get right with the game this week against Whitesboro. A solid Whitesboro team, but they're really, really young. They're going to be good in a couple of years, and they're going to take their lumps this year. I still think they'll make the playoffs down in their division, but, in their non-district schedule, they've got a pretty tough one. And so I think for Graham, this will be a good confidence-building game. And then you set up that run where you get Decatur, you get a new Lake Worth, not new team, but a rebuilt team with Coach Todd Peterman. Then you've got Burnett starting district. And I like how they start district. I think Graham starts district with a couple games that can get them in the right mindset before they have those showdowns the last 3 weeks with the likes of Brock and such. All right, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, we'll talk about it next week right here on the Graham Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.